What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to No Filter Chelsea. In today's episode, we're going to be going over the Newcastle and Chelsea preview, what to expect, what not to expect, and also the comments from Enzo Maresca at his press conference about the speculation about him going to Manchester City, the second half adjustments that he looks to make when things aren't going right in the first half, and just a few other things that he wanted to touch on as well. So if you like these kind of videos, you like soccer, sports, anything like that, drop a like, subscribe, bell notifications, turn those on as well. Get in the comment section, get engaged with me. Let's talk about this beautiful sport that we all know and love. And without further ado, we're going to get into the press conference and the key talking points that Enzo Maresca had to say today. So, tomorrow afternoon, Newcastle, England, St. James's Park, 12:30 kickoff. We have Newcastle versus Chelsea, a ground where we have not won a game there since 2021 when Thomas Tuchel was still in charge. And I think it's time to try to start returning to winning ways away at St. James's Park. It's not a ground that we're accustomed to winning to, but I feel like with the squad of players we have and the head coach that we have as well, the head coaches in the past, and if you look on the past history of us going up to Newcastle, it's never been a happy hunting ground for us. We do pick up the odd result every once in a while, but it's not a ground that we go to and we just go slaughter Newcastle. Newcastle, like I mentioned in my short yesterday, lost to Sunderland, the Ware Tyne Derby, their most fiercest rival and one of the most fiercest rival in English football. Lost 1-0. And they're going to be looking for some type of comeuppance, and they're also going to look to get back into form as well. Expect the game to be physical. Expect the midfield for Newcastle to be up for it. Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali. You throw Lewis Miley up in there. You can throw a bunch of compartments in there for their midfield, and they're always going to be up for a game against Chelsea. A few tidbits to touch on here. Liam Delap is set to return earlier than expected. We saw him against Bournemouth dislocate his shoulder, do something to his shoulder where it was expected he was going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. He's now come back in 2 weeks. Do we rush him in right away? No, I don't even see him playing tomorrow. You need to take care of this man because ultimately the club are looking at him as the number 9 to go to for the future, along with the mega coming from Strasbourg as well. And with João Pedro not necessarily being an out and out center forward, he has to continue being that focal point up front to bring in your Palmers, to bring in your Netos, to bring in Garnachos. No Esteval tomorrow because of his muscular injury that he picked up in the game before Cardiff, I believe, and we're not going to see him probably at the earliest until Aston Villa next weekend at the Bridge. And one thing that I forgot to touch on yesterday was that the reliance on an 18-year-old teenager to be that imaginative, to be that direct, and to be creative and elusive. It's unfortunate that we rely on his imagination so much that the wingers that we have necessarily aren't the trickiest, but they are definitely direct in Pedro Neto and Garnacho. And with those two wingers that are set to start tomorrow, in my opinion, I don't see anybody else coming in for those two right now, unless you want to put Palmer on the right. Don't start Garnacho and you put that Neto on the left and you put Enzo Fernandez in that number 10 role where you can put Reece James next to a Caicedo in midfield, but I see it completely differently. When we get into my starting 11 here, it's going to be a welcome sight to see this team. Hopefully, going forward, is the strongest starting 11 that we can put out there. Um, a few other things to touch on here before we get into the other talking points of the press conference from Enzo Maresca. He spoke on the connection between Garnacho and Enzo Fernandez, both being from Argentina, both having the familiarity of playing with each other. Um, it just seems like when Enzo and Garnacho are on the field together, there is a chemistry there. There is a wavelength. There is a eye contact, knowing where to put the ball, knowing when to make the run, knowing when to check in. And with Enzo coming back into the fold tomorrow, missing the game against Cardiff due to he needs rest. He's played generally every single game since the start of the season, and that man does need rest, just like how Caicedo needed rest, even though he was out for 3 games in the league. It was good for him to still get that necessary rest that he needs because we're going to be relying on those two in midfield for not just for this season, but for the next 3 to 4 years, maybe even 5 years. One thing that Enzo Maresca also mentioned in this press conference, a question from a journalist in there was about the second half adjustments that you seem to make every single time that we're not playing well in the first half, whether it's you're bringing in subs in at halftime, whether you're changing something tactically on the field with the same 11 players to see if they can fulfill what the manager is asking for, on top of what the issue is in the first half of games when we're not necessarily up for it. The game's being taken to us. We're soaking up so much pressure is when the mental mistakes start to happen, when you start seeing players not necessarily going 100% for the ball, not taking their opportunities, not being clinical enough, and just not covering the spaces that are left in behind when we lose possession of the ball. And I think for Enzo Maresca here, he needs to look at this Newcastle game as a roadblock into you can if you can get 3 points in this game, not drop any points, you have a massive game next weekend against Aston Villa where you win this game, Aston Villa drop points against Manchester United, you have an opportunity where next weekend you can be at the bridge where we beat Aston Villa last year 3-0 and overtake them for third place and get us back in the conversation of just being consistently in the top four, not necessarily challenging for the title, even though, like in my video yesterday, I mentioned it's only 8 points at the top. It's a closer 8 points than it is a distant 8 points. Arsenal aren't breaking any doors down. Manchester City seem like the most serious threat to Arsenal right now with the form that they're starting to pick up as well. And when I get into my score prediction and what I feel like is going to actually happen, you're going to see why I do believe that this team will be up for the Newcastle game because I think enough is enough of us going up there and just losing 2-0, 1-0, 2-1, 3-2. Like, I think this collection of players, this squad of players, is more than capable to taking a game to Newcastle. Now, I truly believe that if we were to play on the counterattack a bit more in this game, let Newcastle have possession of the ball, let them knock the ball around. We have the necessary quality out wide and in midfield to intercept the ball and break quickly. You have your Palmers back. You have your Neto on the wing. You have Garnacho on the wing, who are both pace burners. You have João Pedro up top, who will drop in to allow space in behind for your wingers to run into, to allow Cole Palmer to run into it, to allow Enzo Fernandez to make those late darting runs into the box, and allow Caicedo to creep up a little bit more to where he can fire a rocket at goal. He can take a shot at goal, find that killer pass just outside the 18-yard box to slip in our wingers. Um, you know, we just have to understand here that this game is not going to be easy. It's not going to be a game that we're dominating. It's going to be a game where we're going to be soaking up a lot of pressure. The fans are going to be up for it. The atmosphere at St. James's Park is generally a very tough place to go to, especially when Newcastle aren't in the best form, where the fans could turn on them if they have a bad performance. Our job when we go there is to take the crowd out of the game immediately. Don't make stupid mistakes. Know who you're passing it to. Know when to make the runs. Enzo Maresca, know when you need to make the changes, man. Even if it's in the first half and you're seeing a couple players out there not necessarily doing what you're asking to do, don't be afraid to hook these guys off at the half or 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in, because we're not in a position in the table where we can afford to continuously drop points. Fourth place is where we are is 28. I believe 12th or 13th is at 22 points. Like, this is the thing where you drop a couple more games, Chelsea could be mid-table, and then we're having the same conversation. Is Enzo Maresca under pressure? Is he doing enough with the collection of players that he has? Are the owners backing him? Are the fans going to turn on him again if there's a down roll spiral in form. We don't know that until we see the game tomorrow, until we dissect what happened, the changes he made, his game management as well. If you're up 2-1 in the 75th minute, that's when you start taking off the attacking players. In a sense, you still want to go get that third goal to kill it off, but if you bring in the right players to still keep the structure, to keep the shape, you can still hit Newcastle on the counter, which is just what I keep on stressing. If we're up 2-1, say in the second half, I'd rather sit back, soak up the pressure, and wait for Newcastle to make that mistake to where we can hit them on the counter. Because if we score first tomorrow, it's going to force Newcastle to come out. It's going to force them to take more risk and chances, which allows space in behind their fullbacks. And their two fullbacks and Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento are not going to be available possibly for tomorrow. So that means that we're going to have opportunities down the wings to take advantage of the fullbacks that aren't necessarily getting a lot of playing time. Kieran Trippier also is a player that is not supposed to be there tomorrow as well. Sven Botman also not supposed to be in the squad tomorrow, which means it's just Fabian Schär is going to be the only recognized center back that they have, which means that we need to take our opportunities tomorrow. We need to take shots from outside the box. We need to stop passing in and around the 18-yard box and just take chances, take shots, take risks. Don't be afraid to shoot. Don't be afraid to be selfish in a moment where if you're outside the box and there's a clear shooting lane, go ahead and take a shot. You never know. This is why Caicedo is starting to get more goals this season because he is taking shots from outside the box and he just doesn't know what's going to happen. And more often than not, it's finding that top corner, the back of the net. It's making the net rip. I'm looking for risk taking tomorrow. So to get into a couple more things here, we're going to be talking also about, the chemistry within the team and why it doesn't matter what is happening outside of the football club in terms of Enzo Maresca's comments about going to Man City, which is 100% speculation, like he mentioned in his press conference. It's speculation. He was linked with the Juventus job a week prior. It's all speculation. You don't see him talking to any other clubs. Now, behind the scenes, obviously, there's something going on. Hired a new agent, a super agent, Jorge Mendes, has links with the Portuguese sporting director at Manchester City. Doesn't necessarily mean that Enzo Maresca is going to get up at the end of the season, go up to Manchester and go coach that collection of players. He's on a contract till 2029, like he stated. He's not looking to leave. He's happy where he's at. He just wants to feel the support from the board. And I don't think that's too much to ask from a manager to the board. Just back me, and you've seen my results already. Just back me, I can get you the major honors. So we're going to go ahead and also get into now my starting 11 and why I believe this starting 11 is good enough also to get the job done. And this starting 11 going forward needs to be the starting 11. Maybe a couple tweaks with Esteval coming back into the fold next week, but this is going to be my starting 11 for tomorrow's game against Newcastle. So getting into the lineup here for the game tomorrow, we're going to go ahead and shoot over here. So in goal, I got Robert Sanchez, no questions about that. You got Cucurella at left back, Trevor Chalobah at left side of center back, Fofana at right side of center back, Reece James at right back, allowing him to tuck in to form that pivot with Caicedo in midfield. Enzo Fernandez gives him the license to push up into midfield, take over spaces where Palmer is leaving open. Garnacho on the left, who I want to see going forward on that left-hand side. There's nobody else besides maybe a Pedro Neto if you're deciding to start Esteval on the right. Cole Palmer, obviously, as the number 10. Welcome back, Cole. Welcome back to the starting lineup consistently. Please stay healthy, man. We need you to do big things this season. Pedro Neto, our most consistent winger that we have right now, very crucial to what Enzo Maresco wants to do down the wings. Hold the width, have good work rate coming back, be able to be direct, get balls into the box to allow your Garnachos, your Palmers, your João Pedros, and your Enzo Fernandezes to also crash the box and score goals. And obviously, João Pedro up top. I want to see more from him, not just his hold up play and his link up play, but also just be clinical, man. Like you've had a lot of opportunities over the past 3 to 4 games where you should be able to put a lot of these balls in the back of the net. Maybe it's fatigue of the consistent playing. Maybe it's also that he's just not feeling confident in front of goal as he was earlier in the season or even at the Club World Cup. But at some point, João Pedro is going to get it going again. It's not going to be a case of he's going to be up there just holding up the ball and allowing everybody else to get assists and goals. He's going to get his assists. He's going to get his goals. He's just in a weird patch of form right now. But ultimately, with the World Cup coming up, he's going to find his form and he's going to be that elite number 10 slash hybrid nine that we're looking to use him as right now, which I still think we need to go into the market and go look for a solid center forward going forward because João Pedro to me is a number 10. But this lineup right here, Sanchez, Cucurella, Chalaba, Fofana, Reece James, Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Garnacho, Palmer, Neto, João Pedro. I do want to see some subs midway through the second half, not necessarily at the 50th or 55th minute. Now, if the game is going south, then yeah, obviously make the changes where you see fit, Enzo Maresca. But I do want to see this team right here play at least 70 minutes together to see what we can accomplish. Now, at that point, if you want to start bringing in Andre Santos, you want to start bringing in a Jamie Gittins, you want to bring in a Josh Achiampong, you want to bring in a Badia Shield to make sure that we can secure the 3 points if we are up. That is fine. But I want to see this team right here because I feel like this team right here gives us the best chance to win and the best chance to create the most chances. So, this starting 11, let me know what you guys think about it. It's probably the same as a lot of other people, but this is generally with the same train of thought as everyone else. This is our best 11 without maybe Esteval in there. And I would probably switch Garnacho out for an Esteval, put Neto on the left, Esteval on the right, Palmer in the middle. They interchange, and you know what kind of damage they can do if they're on the pitch together. I still, at some point, do want to see the João Pedro, Cole Palmer, and Esteval link up because I feel like that link up is going to be a devastating link up for the next 3 to 4 seasons. So, with that being said, um, a few last things that we're going to be talking about here. I believe the most important thing here is the midfield battle with Bruno Guimaraes, with Sandro Tonali, with a few other players they have in midfield. In the midfielders that we have with Caicedo, Enzo, Palmer, Reece James. I do believe that this game is going to be decided in midfield. Who wins the 50-50s? Where do we win possession of the ball? How often are we connecting passes and just not losing possession in the worst areas? And who's going to be dictating the pace of the game? That's going to be very important, especially away from home where it's going to be a raucous crowd. The players are going to be up for it. The managers are going to be up for it. How bad are we going to actually want it? The first, like I said in the game against, I believe it was Cardiff, it was the first 10 to 15 minutes of this game is going to be very important. We're going to be soaking up pressure. I say that a lot because when we go away from home, generally we are soaking up a lot of pressure because teams are up for us to come to their stadiums. And that's just the reality of the situation. And we have to be able to weather the storms because Newcastle is going to bring pressure to us that where the fans are going to be consistently getting on our backs if we make a mistake. If they score the first goal, it's going to be a tough sledding to get back into that game because they'll more than likely get that second one right after the first one. It's very important for us to score tomorrow. So, with that being said, my score prediction for tomorrow, seen a lot of people look at 2-2 draws, 2-1 losses for us, 2-1 wins for us. I'll be honest, I'm not necessarily the most confident about this game, given our record in Newcastle over the past few seasons. Um, but at some point, we have to go there and go pick up a result. My head is telling me 2-2. You know, I feel like we do score first, they score again, they take the lead on us, and then we score to get a point at the very end. But my heart is telling me that this team is tired of losing at St. James's Park. This club is tired of losing up in the Northeast. And with the amount of players that Newcastle are missing, with the players that we have coming back and the quality we have that we've seen before when we play against the big teams. Newcastle isn't a big team, but they are a respectable club that you must peek over to every once in a while because they will pick up that odd result against a bigger team, whether it's the Champions League or whether it's the Premier League. St. James's Park is always up for the big teams coming to their grounds, and Newcastle generally put on a performance like their prime Real Madrid or prime Barcelona. So my heart is telling me Newcastle 2, Chelsea 3. I believe we do score first. I believe we score twice first. Then Newcastle get a goal before the half. They score again early on in the second half. It's a 2-2 game going into the 80th minute. And I believe between that point in time, we would have made the correct subs, the correct selection with the lineup, and Enzo Maresca's game management, hopefully by that point, is fixed and he's not overanalyzing and overthinking and making weird rotations when he doesn't necessarily need to. Um, I do believe that we will pull this out tomorrow, but just pull it out because Newcastle just lost to their most fiercest rival and they're looking to get 3 points. They're looking to get back in those European spots. But for us, we're looking to get back to hold on to fourth spot and hopefully push on into that top three where I truly believe that this club actually does belong in. So I got Newcastle 2, Chelsea 3. I got goals from Pedro Neto. I got a goal from Garnacho, and I think the game-winning goal will come from, I want to say Palmer, but I have a weird feeling Enzo Fernandez is going to find the back of the net tomorrow because he does find the odd goal against Newcastle every once in a while, right? So I believe it'll be Enzo, Garnacho, and Pedro Neto scoring tomorrow. I think for Newcastle tomorrow, Nick Waltmade will score against us, and I do believe that Bruno Guimaraes will find a way to score against us. So I got Chelsea 3, Newcastle 2. That will put us up to 31 points. Hopefully, teams around us drop points. Arsenal finds a way to drop points. Man City finds a way to drop points. Aston Villa go to Man United on Sunday. Hopefully, they drop points. And we can see Aston Villa next week and hopefully feeling good about ourselves. Hopefully, also feeling like that this title race isn't necessarily over yet, that we're going to find a way to sneak back in it. Remember what I keep saying? It's a closer 8 points than it is a more distant 8 points. So, again, Chelsea 3, Newcastle 2. You like these videos? You like listening to me talk? You like soccer, sports, anything like that? Drop a like, subscribe, bell notifications, ring those. Get in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think will happen tomorrow. Who scores tomorrow? Give me your lineups in the comments and your score predictions as well. Like I said, this is no filter Chelsea. Up the Chelsea. Let's pick up these 3 points tomorrow. And with that being said, I'm out. Peace.